They would not be antithesis to marriage. I mean, Congressman, all right, let's go to this. Donald Trump suggested twice just this week that he might seek retribution against political enemies of if he's elected president. He also tried to link his legal problems to the injustices African Americans have suffered at the hand of our legal system. Why should Black Americans believe that Trump is serious about criminal justice reform when he only seems concerned about it when it applied to him? You know the record. You're from Brooklyn, what he did around the Central Park case. You know the record that he was president when George Floyd was killed by police. He said nothing, had protesters moved from in front of a church, made a speech denouncing the protesters. He has no problem talking about locking up his political opponents or homeless or asylum seekers, but he now wants to act like he's a victim of something. What is your response to that, Congressman?
Well, first of all, during the Trump presidency, he also signed into law reforms to criminal justice reform, the first step back, which actually helped get a lot of people released who were imprisoned under the '94 crime bill that was authored by Joe Biden, one of the worst pieces of crime legislation that's really impacted a lot of people in the Black community.
You and I agree on the '94 crime bill. I marched on it, and Joe Biden has said that it went too far. But Donald Trump has not dealt with his own record of discrimination. If you're talking about the two candidates, Donald Trump, unlike Biden, who talked about how the crime bill did go too far, Donald Trump has not dealt with his discrimination, that he was sued by the Justice Department in housing, what he did with Central Park 5, what he's done in various race cases, and explained as president what he did with George Floyd. You were in Congress.
What did he do with George Floyd? He didn't do anything with George Floyd. What are you talking about?
That's exactly right.
What did he do against it? He did not do anything. The only thing he said is that riots in America do need to stop. Well, first of all, let's talk about that legislation, because there were actually
policing bill that
there were two bills that were going through Congress at the time. The bill that could have went through and passed was the one by Senator Tim Scott, and the only difference between that bill and the bill that was being moved by my Democrat colleagues is because my Democrat colleagues wanted to get rid of qualified immunity. That was the only difference in the bill. Local law enforcement universally said, if you get rid of qualified immunity, you're going to have less officers on the streets. And so the Democrats did not want that bill to go forward. I believe Nancy Pelosi was speaker at the time, and that's why that bill could not get through the House.
They did not vote for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And did you vote for it, you in Congress?
I wasn't in Congress at the time when that occurred, but I will tell you that the reason I was not in Congress. I got in 2020.
Did you support
because that bill would have gotten rid of qualified immunity. And getting rid of qualified immunity would have meant less officers on the street, which is bad for public safety.
So the only way you would have supported a bill to hold police accountable is if police would not be individually accountable? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because if you most police officers make $60,000 to $70,000 a year. If they are not individually liable in civil court, how many people are going to sign up to be police officers? With all the millions of encounters they go through every single year, people aren't going to do that. That's not my words. That's the words of officers I talk to.
Maybe if they knew they were liable, they would behave differently.
The vast majority of officers do not do that. The vast majority of officers are good public servants. They serve our communities every single day. You know this, Al.
The vast majority of people, Congressman, don't commit crimes, but that doesn't mean we don't need laws. Let me go to this one.
But qualified immunity is a bad solution. It would not have been good. It would have not been good.
And Donald Trump opposed it and did not come with any police reform at all. Marjorie Taylor Greene, let's go
Tim
to
Scott had a bill that
what police reform
bill had a bill that Donald Trump supported.
Go back to the Tim Scott bill, which was moving through the Senate. Nancy Pelosi wouldn't hear it in the House. What was the police reform bill that happened during George Floyd that Donald Trump, as president of the United States, when George Floyd was killed, what did he support for police reform? Donald Trump.
At the time, Donald Trump was supporting the Tim Scott measure that could not get a hearing in the House because Nancy Pelosi wouldn't allow it. You can have Senator Scott on. He'll tell you about it. I'm quite sure he will.
I met with Senator Scott. And what I'm saying to you is, did Donald Trump then say, we'll do this about police reform? This is wrong what happened to George Floyd?
Nancy Pelosi would not let it through the House. She was speaker. You should ask Nancy why she didn't put it on the floor.
No, I'm asking you then, what was the Republican bill around reform? A man was killed. He was president.
It was the Tim Scott. I just told you the bill. It's the Tim Scott bill.
when Donald Trump went in front of that church and stood up there with the Bible, he did not tout any reform bill at all. End of story. And you and I both know that.
I'm sorry. So the only bills that matter, only bills that matter are the ones that actually have a name that a president cites, not the actual legislation that's moving through Congress.
He could have named the bill. He was president of the United States.
You already know that's a ridiculous standard.
Well, then why didn't if Tim Scott's was the bill, then why didn't the president come out and call on the Congress and the country to rally around that bill? He said nothing. Listen, know it, and I know it.
First of all, I don't know. Donald Trump talks a lot. You should ask him that question.
Well,
I will tell you that Nancy Pelosi did not let that bill come up in the House. She was Speaker. Ask her.
All right, let me ask you this then. You and could be a great example. I've known black Republicans. I've worked with some black Republicans, Arthur Fletcher. I have a lot of respect for others, that Richard Parsons. You was able to come up in Brooklyn as a kid. Many of us make mistakes. You corrected it, went to college, moved down to Florida, went to Florida State. In a congressman of a district that's not black, in an interracial marriage, that the civil rights movement made all that possible for you and I. You're rumored to be on Trump's list of potential running mates ahead of the GOP National Convention in 5 weeks. Several of those candidates have received vetting materials from the campaign. I want to ask you, you received vetting materials and you came up and stood for Donald Trump in the court when he was on trial a few weeks ago, you and some of your colleagues, and now he's convicted of 34 felonies. Did they ask you whether you were a convicted felon on that form?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to talk about any of the conversations I have with the president or the Trump campaign around this, because that's all going to happen. He's going to make that decision. I'm quite sure everybody in the Trump world knows my past, backwards and forwards, from when I was 18 years old and going forward. I think that if you look at my life and all the things I've been able to accomplish.
I'm talking about whether or not they were interested in knowing everybody's past that's up. There's more than blacks on the list, I assume. And Donald Trump now is a convicted felon. Is it not a legitimate issue to ask people on the ticket their criminal background?
Well, Al, I've been very open about, the mistakes I made when I was 18 and 20 years old. I talk about it frequently.
I commend you for that.
So they already know. So putting it on a form doesn't even matter. But like I said, I'm not going to comment on those conversations.
Of the candidates are being asked about their criminal background. Does it matter to the Trump people?
I don't know. Okay. I'm not running the vetting. That's the Trump campaign. They're doing that.
All right, but again, you came up and you defended him, and you stood with others. All of you, all dressed like Donald Trump, looking like you come from New York. Remember the Rockettes at Radio City across the street? All of y'all in uniform and all. You stood up for him. Have you ever gone to court for any other defendants since you yourself said you were able to correct your mistakes? Have you ever been to court for any other defendants?
No, but, I've had friends and family members. I've supported them.
I appreciate you being on. That's it. And we'll have you back. Congressman Byron Donalds, thank you. And let's go to coming up. Trump Republicans are recruiting an army of so-called poll watchers. But don't let their prying eyes keep you from exercising your right to vote. I'll explain next in tonight's Gotcha.
Okay, so here's my most requested hack for stubborn odors. You'll need vinegar, a large salad bowl, and...
Oh, hi. Have you tried Tide Fabric Rinse? It works after your detergent to fight deep odors 3 times better than detergent alone.
I love that.
Try Tide Fabric Rinse.
In here, you can expect to find crystal clear audio, expansive display space, and more comfort for everyone. But we still left room for all the unexpected things you'll find out here. The new 2024 Grand Cherokee lineup. Jeep, there's only one.
Right now, during the Jeep Make This the Summer event, get the 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee starting at $38,290 MSRP. Visit Jeep.com for details.
From real quality that starts in our factory to real performance in your backyard, Steel tools are as tough and dependable as the people who use them. This Father's Day, give him the gift that's built for Dad. Right right now, save $50 on the FSA 60R battery trimmer set. Real STIHL.